When we were here a year ago today, I certainly didn't anticipate that we would be back now and this killing would be continuing. There has never been a period in this 100-year war in which the fighting has gone on for so long, resulting in the deaths of so many people. It is a period without precedent in a war that has been going for a century. We shrug our shoulders because the war has been going on so long, and it's understandable but regrettable that the impact of the killing of the last almost 13 months is lost on us as a result. I mean, the statistics are overwhelming. You know the statistics. I only want to give you one, or one set. Of all the killing that gets me most is the killing of kids. And I'm reflecting the fact that I'm a father, a grandfather, and in about a month I'll become a great-grandfather for the first time. Kids mean something to me. On the 7th of October, 38 Israeli children were killed, one of them under the age of 2 years. Since then, at least as of last week, 13,319 children have been killed in Gaza, of whom 786 were under the age of 1. And in addition, 165 children have been killed in the West Bank. Now, that's the only statistic I want to give you. And it's a statistic that, to me, says everything. Kids aren't terrorists. Kids aren't terrorists. And yet, between what happened in southern Israel on the 7th of October and what has happened since then, we have had thousands and thousands of kids killed. And that's not even including those who are injured, those who are under the rubble, those who have lost limbs. It's said that the amputations of limbs of children is the greatest in any conflict in recorded modern warfare. Kids who have lost parents. You know, I wonder when the current Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu talks about finishing off Hamas. I wonder about what the 1 million children in Gaza will be doing in 20 years' time. The conflict in Gaza is an Israeli terrorism creation factory. And there is no sign of it finishing. Navi has referred to the decision of the International Court of Justice. That is a landmark event for us lawyers, an extremely significant event to have a legal determination of the status of the current situation. And it's a way forward because it provides the basis upon which any peace discussions, if they ever occur, can be built. The law provides the foundation, and peace negotiations cannot alter that foundation. The foundation is the law. But that decision provides the foundation upon which bricks can be built. And I'm very pleased that our reports have contributed to the decision taken by the International Court of Justice. But I'm also acutely aware that our reports, the decision of the International Court of Justice, 4 resolutions passed by the Security Council in the last 13 months, resolutions part of the General Assembly, none of those have resulted in a single child not being killed. So we can take a lot of pride in the decision of the International Court of Justice, and we do. Member states of the Security Council can cheer because they have actually managed to achieve consensus on 4 resolutions, when mostly they can't. But regrettably, not a single child has not died because of all of these actions. And that's the reality that confronts the whole United Nations system today.
A couple questions for you. Number one, I'm trying to absorb your assertion, fear, whatever you want to label it, about this next generation, you say, of terrorists, the terrorist breeding ground that Gaza will become. There have been wars before, and I don't want to compare them, but I mean, World War II, the destruction left in Germany, the destruction of Japan, these didn't lead to breeding grounds for a future generation of terrorists. So God willing, Gaza will emerge ruled by something other than an internationally designated terror group. Why do you, it seems like an assumption that Gazan children growing up today are going to be terrorists of tomorrow? Is that not a dangerous assumption?
Yes, it is a dangerous assumption, and there is one distinct, definitive, determinative difference between the examples that you cite. It's continuing, and there is no end in sight.
So when an end comes, weeks, months from now?
Weeks, months, this has been going on for 100 years. Weeks, months?
Gaza has been occupied for 100 years?
No, the war has been going on for 100 years.
As well for Israel. Well, for 75 years.
I'm not denying that for a minute. I'm saying this war has been going on for 100 years, and there is no end in sight. To help these kids, to help Israel, it's got to stop. Then there is a possibility. But until it stops, there is no chance.
It's an interesting take. In terms of the report itself, I want to gain some clarity because it seems like a Pandora's box. The assertion or the conclusion, one of them made in your latest report, is that anything that helps Israel carry out or continue to carry out what's labeled as an occupation needs to cease. Any assistance from member states. There's a few different ways of looking at it, and I want to clarify which way you're looking at it. Because one can say that anything that benefits settlements in Judea and Samaria, in eastern Jerusalem, where have you, that is helping perpetuate what you label as the occupation. There's another way of looking at it, where anything that goes into Israel proper, sovereign Israel, can be put into a proverbial slush fund to enable it to perpetuate this occupation. It's unclear from your report what exactly you mean by that. Can you please clarify?
Yeah. The chair has given that one to me. First, yes, we have defined it as an occupation. So has the International Court of Justice. This is now a decision taken by the most authoritative judicial body in the international system. There ain't no higher than the ICJ. And there's nowhere else to go to get a higher opinion or even an alternative opinion. So the reason why we made the recommendation in the first place, because we said, well, we're pretty good. We're a commission of inquiry. We've got Navi Pillay as our chair. But we are a commission of inquiry. And this is a matter that, in our opinion, needed the authoritative decision of the International Court of Justice. And that body decided overwhelmingly, it wasn't a close thing, overwhelmingly, that the occupation was unlawful. So our opinion has been superseded by that of the most authoritative body in the international system. And it was the court that said that states individually and collectively have a responsibility not to aid or assist the continuation of the occupation, the maintenance of the settlements, the establishment of new settlements. The court left it to the Security Council and the General Assembly to put flesh on that ruling, that position. And our position paper is designed to do that. We first indicated that the court's decision applies to the occupied Palestinian territory. The court was asked about the occupation, and that was all, and it commented on the occupation, and that was all. The court did refer to the fact that there should be political distinctions made, that there are questions of economics and finances and militarisation or arms and arms trade and so forth, and we sought to elucidate that. In our opinion, the obligation not to aid or assist relates to the occupation and the Palestinian, and the Israeli settlements in the occupied territory. Where the complication comes in relating to your question is where it is not clear, or even more, where the Israeli authorities deliberately obfuscate what is done in relation to the State of Israel and what is done in relation to the occupied Palestinian territories. If, for example, there was one section of the military that was directed only to the defence of the State of Israel against foreign invasion, that part of the military would not be covered by the ICJ decision. But where the military as a whole is used in relation to the occupation, well, then the decision applies. If a state decides that assisting the occupation economically would be the consequence of trading in settlement products, then the state could decide not to trade in settlement products. But if the State of Israel were to stamp all products made in Israel without distinguishing between those made in settlements and those made within the State of Israel, that obfuscation would have much broader implications. So there is first a due diligence obligation on states to determine what aspects of their relationships either support the continuation of the occupation or the maintenance of the settlements, and what do not. And if there is a lack of clarity, then the due diligence obligation shifts to the State of Israel to make those distinctions. So what we have said in our position paper is very much that the court's decision applies to the occupation of the territory and the maintenance of settlements within the territory, but that requires examination of relationships to determine what does that. And if there is doubt, well, then it could be that the implications of the decision are broader.